Welcome to the K-State Pregame Show, brought to you by GoPowerCat.com and sponsored by Coldest.com and The Wooden Cork. Now let's head to the Cats and Dogs studio and your host, Tim Fitzgerald.
Welcome to the K-State Pregame Show, the third ever episode of this endeavor. We've enjoyed getting you ready for the last two games, and this one is just the same, except now we have lots of questions about Kansas State. After barely beating North Dakota last week, 38-35, it took a late drive to get it done. The Cats flirted with disaster and got off the hook. But why were they so bad? Later in the show, I'm going to ask Chris Klieman a lot of questions about that as he tries to sort out what went wrong with this team and can they correct it for this game against the Army Black Knights. I've long wanted Kansas State to play Army. The association with Army and Fort Riley is pretty natural. I would love to have a home and home so I could get to go cover a game at West Point, but I'll settle for this. It's going to be pretty cool having the Army Academy at West Point on the field for this game. All these players will be in the military after their college careers. It's pretty cool. It's a great honor to be on the team, and I think it's an honor to play them. Last week was almost a disaster. Can K-State bounce back from that? That's the big question. Their lack of discipline on defense will be absolutely terminal if they do that against Army in their triple option offense. That offense is all about being loyal to your duties and taking care of your business and not anyone else's. And if you don't, well, they'll take advantage of that. We got some cool stuff playing throughout the show. Of course, if you haven't been watching, Brian Hanley, the former offensive lineman at Kansas State for those great 97 and 98 teams, will join us in a little bit to talk about the Wildcats. And then our opposing scout will come from Cole Carmody, our recruiting editor, who also scouts our opponents for us. And then we'll have our interview segment, and I'll wrap the show up. And it's a pretty entertaining week in Big 12 football for the second full week of games. There's 15 games in the conference. TCU played on Monday night, so they're off. 5 of them, or 6 of them, involve other power conference opponents. I almost didn't count BYU because they're playing Stanford, and they're awful. But along with Kansas State Army, there's some pretty good games. This game is on ESPN, a 6 p.m. kick, national audience. A lot of people like to watch the academies play, and we'll see what K-State can do. They better find a better version of themselves, or it's going to be a long season. And let's start our preparations for this game by bringing in Brian Big B Hanley, our football analyst, and of course, he's the host of the Big 12 Insiders, our other channel right here on YouTube. Now it's time to talk to Brian Hanley, our football analyst and host of the Big 12 Insiders. Channel's kind of rocking right now. People are fired up for Big 12 football, aren't they, Big B?
They are. People love football, but more importantly, people like real talk about football, not the clickbaitish, everybody's leaving the conference, yada, yada, yada. We're just talking football over there about what we see. We don't always agree and never going to agree with everybody, but at the same time, Fitz, it's just this is my opinion. This is what we see, and I just call it like it is. We're having fun.
I love it. I love it. And I need you to call it like it is with the Kansas State Wildcats. How bad is it?
Yeah, it was pretty bad on Saturday, man. It's just no fight, no fire, no execution, lack of coaching, accountability, you name it, it was pathetic. But it was 1 week, and it ended in a win. I don't want to poo-poo everything because it could have been a loss, which would have been total disaster.
Yep.
But it wasn't. They won. Now, here's the thing. They know they played horrifically, and you can learn a lot from a game like that. And it's better, at least it's better that you can do it with a win versus a loss. But you can learn a lot from that. But they got to play better. They got to be better. They got to coach better, put players in correct positions. It's put up time. Really. It's kind of put up time, Fitz. It's weird that it's the second game of the year and we're talking about that, but it's the truth.
It is. They're going to get themselves in big trouble if they don't figure this out over the next 2 weeks. And I don't see any indication that they won't, but I also didn't see that North Dakota performance coming. And I guess we should start with the quarterback, Avery Johnson. His stats look pretty good, but that doesn't tell the whole story, does it?
No. There were too many times where the blitzes are coming, quarterback. Look, hey, all you have to do is be able to count. And I'm pretty sure Avery's a smart guy. As a matter of fact, I know so. And hey, they got more guys than we can block. One of those guys coming free, that's my guy. I have to throw the ball. It almost like he didn't see it, didn't account for it.
Yeah.
It happened too many times. Just bad ball placement, off target throws, on simple stuff like out routes. You should be able to complete an out route. Throwing late, and I know people are saying, well, they didn't catch the interceptions. That doesn't mean that they shouldn't have been interceptions. And those are just flat out mistakes. It's just things that just can't happen. He's too good of a player, or at least he should be too good of a player. And I think he is, to be making those simple kind of mistakes in a game like that. Now, people have to help him, Fitz. That's the one thing. You gotta protect him better. O-line still just flat out pathetic. Let's just call it like it is. Play calling, atrocious. Wide receivers dropping footballs. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. I'm like you. I'm beside myself. But everybody collectively on the offense has to help Avery, and he has to help himself. So it's not just him. It's not just everybody. It's collectively as a group got to get this thing figured out.
Normally, when you're playing a non-conference game and it's not a power opponent, you can say, you got to focus on yourselves here and get better. But that's not true when you play Army. You better focus on what they run, because that triple option is something different. And I don't know if you ever played in a triple option, but it's in theory easy to defend, but it's not easy to defend. It's everyone takes their man and does their job, you're going to be fine. Mm-hmm. Someone always screws up, and that's where they take advantage of it. This is kind of a scary game. Granted, Army isn't great this year. They lost at home to Tarleton State in overtime. But this is kind of the curveball that this defense, and what Chris Klieman said, their eyes are in the wrong places. And if that's true this week, it's going to be a long day at the office.
Yeah, that's the thing, Fitz. You're right about the triple option. It's not hard to defend. It really isn't. You just have to do your job over and over and over again. Where teams get in trouble, it's not, hey, I don't stop the dive. Hey, I don't stop the dive. It's the seventh time where you say, you know what? They keep giving it to this guy. I'm just going to the defensive. I'm just going to crash down and pop this in. And as soon as you do, the quarterback keeps it, and there's nobody there to take the quarterback, and then they get 15 yards on you. You just have to consistently over and over again just do your job. And I know that sounds simple and it's cliche-ish. I get it, but it's the absolute truth. Defense just has to do that. Now, offensively, something different, because they don't have – they can't. You can only have guys that can be so big, so, that are in the Army. So you can't have guys that are 340 pounds running around, because I don't think they've got, big tanks or anything, oversized tanks that these future captains and heroes are going to be running into. So you should be able to physically whip them, but you would have thought the same thing last week, that you should be able to physically dominate this team. Not to mention, look, FCS to group of 5 is a huge step up, ladies and gentlemen. So let's not kid ourselves. That's a big jump. Army's better than North Dakota. They're a better football team. So K-State's going to have to bring it.
They are. I'm gravely concerned about that defensive discipline, because if it's absent, we're probably going to be absent a win at the end of the game too. This is one they just can't afford to lose, isn't it?
Mm-mm. No, they can't.
This will set the tone for the season if they do.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It'll be a downward spiral. I know that's crazy to say third game in, but it will be.
Yeah.
We look in the day of NIL, in past years or previous seasons, you could say, hey, they could lose this and they could right the ship. In the days of NIL, where in transfer portal, you start out 1-2 and you're supposed to be one of the best teams in the conference. This thing will get off the rails in a heartbeat, because immediately people will start calling kids. Kids will start looking around. You know what? This ain't what I thought. I got to get out of here. Yeah. This is not working out. I got to get out of here. Heck, we saw that 2 years ago at the end of the year at Iowa State. that was still in season. I mean, in an opportunity for K-State to still win something. Here, there was no opportunity. Yeah, it'd be tough. It would be tough. They lose this one, Fitz. I mean, K-State fans may not want to hear it, but I think most of them will know this is the truth. It'll be Katie bar the door. They cannot lose this football game.
Agreed. No Dylan Edwards, we assume, again this week. And they've struggled with the run. And they were also limiting Avery Johnson's running ability. Well, let's go there first.
Mm-hmm.
Are they handling him right as a runner? I know they're being cautious, and we'll get to sound of Chris Klieman and talking about that later in the show. But I think they're being overly cautious, and it's costing the team some offensive rhythm.
Well, look, Avery doesn't want to run like quarterback powers and things of that nature. You can tell he tippy toes around, and it's the first thing they tell you as a running back: don't be tippy toeing. Yeah. Go be aggressive. Okay, fine. He doesn't want to do that, and I don't blame him per se. Like some people want to blame him. If you don't want to do that, I'm a quarterback. I don't want to run quarterback power. Now you get him out on the edge and stuff like that, maybe even option game. That's something different. Okay, fine. But no, you can't run him in things that he doesn't want to do. And he may tell us that he wants to do us, but I'm sorry, Avery, his action fits are telling us something different. You can watch him and see that he doesn't want to do that. So get him out on the edge. But I mean, look, I'm quite frank about it. I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer. I'm just an honest guy. I just don't think Avery's being used properly at all. I don't think that what they're doing with him is right. I don't. And I can't just sit here and fake it. I'm not going to fake it. I mean, I can just watch. I think there's other things that they can be using them for, and they just don't do that. I don't know why. If they're holding it back, I mean, you played Iowa State. Why would you hold it back against Iowa State? That didn't make any sense. So I just think there's different ways that you can use them. They got to do that, Fitz. It's becoming too late, and it's going to be a problem. I'm not going to say what the problem is. Me and you have spoke about it. It'll be a problem if they don't start doing that.
Yeah, they're going to have to get him out of the pocket. He's not a pocket passer.
No.
This is the second OC that's tried to do this to him. You got to get him out, let him move around, see the field. He does not. You speak not one power. I don't think he wants to stand in a pocket where a guy can get him at any minute. He wants to be out in the open a little bit, able to run away. And it paid off at the end of the game when the field just opened up for him. But they don't create that opportunity during most of the game. And then when it came down to the end, it happened. But I think they need to get him rolling out. And for heaven's sakes, Bigby, I don't know how they get him to go through his progressions better, but he's just taking the first one and he's putting the ball in there whether it fits or not. And he's got guys running open. He does not like being in the pocket. He wants to get rid of it.
Well, and it's not even that. It's like you go to the first read, you wait for them to get open, and then you throw the football. You can't play quarterback like that. Not at this level. You can't be waiting for guys to get open. You have to anticipate throws. You have to anticipate they're going to be where they're supposed to be and get the ball there. You can't be late. You especially can't be late on out routes. You can't be waiting. You have to go through your progressions. And if you're not going to do that, then again, we got to do something totally different. Like you said, get them outside, or, hey, roll them out to one side. You have 1-2 reads and then run. I hate to say that because that makes the offense so simplistic, and it's going to do nothing for him trying to go to the next level. I can tell you that right now. People that have aspirations of going to the next level, you can't be a guy that has to just sit in the pocket and throw the football. People talked about Lamar Jackson, about from college to pro. The difference between Lamar Jackson was Bobby Petrino ran a pro-style offense where you had to make reads. He just used Lamar Jackson's running ability as an asset to that. But when they threw the football, he was killed. 1, 2, 3. Okay, where do I need to go with the football? That's what he did. Avery's got to get there. But again, I don't want to put it all just on him, Fitz. I don't. It is not just him. He needs people to do their job, and that includes the coaches. He needs everybody to do their job to help him.
And with Dylan Edwards out, he needs a running back to step forward. Joe Jackson's getting a bulk of the carries, and he had the winning touchdown on a pass reception, but they just haven't had the consistency out of the running game that they need. And part of that might be the backs, but a lot of it is that offensive line. They are just not opening very many holes.
No, they're not. I mean, look, this should have been a game where K-State should have run for 300 yards.
Yep.
Let's just be honest. They should have run for 300 yards. Anything they wanted to run, downhill, inside, outside zone, power game, just anything they wanted to run, they should have been able to do that. And they weren't. And they let North Dakota take the fight to them versus them taking the fight. Now, you can look at some of the stats, but what was it, 140-something yards? I'm like, that is not near enough yards. I mean, and to be quite frank, as a former offensive lineman, I was embarrassed. Because I'm like, come on, guys. This is a game where you literally 2.5 quarters, you beat them to smithereens, and you let the other guys play. That is not what happened, and it should have, but I mean, it was team-wide, but the offensive line's got to get this thing in gear. What happened to that O-line? Cole is right. Cole brought this up on the post game. What happened to the offensive line in the first half against Iowa State? Where did those guys go?
Yeah.
Because those guys were road grading, moving people against their will. They haven't shown up since. And it's disappointing. I don't know what happened, Fitz. I don't.
I agree. I don't know if the difference in styles between Connor Radley, who had been the offensive line coach, and now Brian LePack, who's taking his place. Connor was a kind of in your face, and he's going to mother you if you're not doing the right thing. And I think Brian's a little more laid back, but at some point it comes down to the players. Have some pride, and I just don't see them looking that competent right now, and that's frustrating because of all the things that should be right about this offense. Offensive line is the one thing that you can't adapt for it. If they're going to be bad, you're going to be bad.
Correct. And that's kind of the thing that I cautioned at the beginning of the year, that they had to be good. Well, so far they haven't been good. They've been good for 2 quarters, and that's not good enough. That's not good enough.
Flipping it over to the defense, let's keep in mind that K-State did score 38 points last week. And the defense gave up 35 to North Dakota. I never saw that coming.
No.
They should be ashamed. I don't mean that as a shot at North Dakota, but this defense doesn't give 35 up to many Big 12 teams. Yeah. What is going on here with this team that seemingly can't motivate itself? They were going through the motions, and it was obvious to everyone watching the game.
I mean, guys not in their gaps, guys letting people run past them, getting pushed around. I mean, that's literally what happened. I mean, to just put a bow on that game, North Dakota physically whipped K-State.
Yep.
Now, K-State had enough athletes and made enough plays at the end to be able to win, but North Dakota literally physically whipped us on both sides of the football. But you're right. Defense should be ashamed. Come on, man. 35 points. Guys just run. I mean, I think the last 2 touchdowns, guys just ran up the gut.
Yep.
Like, it wasn't a trick play, to just right up the gut, just running past people. I'm like, there's nobody there, not a linebacker. First a D lineman, then a linebacker, then a safety. There's just nobody around. I don't know. I don't know. It just looked like they weren't interested, and it looked like almost, because we heard so much about this lag and layover, this long trip from Ireland, it would almost look like that the team gave them themselves that excuse.
I agree.
That we're just going to go out there and play, and hopefully they won't play too hard, because we're not going to play hard, and we'll just get this thing done and move on. Well, North Dakota did play hard. We didn't play hard, and then it became a dogfight that we had to scratch and claw at the end. The defense, that was ugly.
I feel like they talked jet lag into existence.
Yes.
I didn't have many problems. We talked about this on the regular podcast. Gills and I didn't have many problems. I mean, we were at a press conference bright and early, like 9 hours after we got back into town. So I don't know. Of course, I'm not a Division I athlete. Who knows? Okay. Here's my pet peeve: special teams. I don't even know what to say anymore.
Mm-mm.
I mean, I was hoping they would get better. It somehow got worse.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got further they can fall. And I think what really bothers me is the folks inside Veneer don't realize how angry the fans are over this. This was a point of pride. You might as well start wearing green uniforms because it doesn't look like their team right now. The special teams are a fiasco. I don't know if they can get them fixed. I don't know if they've got the right coach, but they better stop making mistakes, Big B.
Well, I mean, look, Coach Klieman's never going to come out and say this, but I mean, it's quite obvious is that don't put the emphasis on special teams. I mean, we all see it. We all know it. And again, I'm not going to be a big, well, back in Coach Snyder day, it was Coach Snyder, even Ron Prince, Lord have mercy, something positive about Ron Prince. They put emphasis on special teams, though. He did. And K-State, they've always, but how they do it, though, Fitz, starters played on special teams.
Right.
You know, the guys in the 22 and even in the 44 played on special teams. It wasn't just the third string or fourth stringer. Now, I'm not trying to knock third and fourth stringers. I'm not trying to do that. But frontline guys played on special teams. You had enough of those guys on kickoff return, punt team, punt return. It was a lot of frontline guys that were on that unit. That's what made it special through the years. You have to continue. You got to get back to that. And unless you do, this is the kind of results that you're going to get. Like, there's no emphasis. There's no imagination. And the play is just pathetic. I don't know. I mean, look, I don't want to be too much of a critic. I feel like that's all I've done is bash K-State this whole time. But I'm just trying to be honest. I mean, it just looks like the coaches have put zero emphasis on special teams. You have a special teams coach. I would venture to say, what's he doing?
Mm-hmm.
You know, or is he asking for better guys, you know, to be on special teams? Because that's what it is. I'm not trying to embarrass anybody, but is he asking for better players to be on his units? And if he's being told no, that's a problem. But if he isn't asking, that's a problem. So somewhere we got to connect this thing and get it going back in the right direction, Fitz.
Heaven help us. Hopefully it'll happen this week. Big B, they need a comfortable win. They need to get some guys some action who haven't played yet this season, maybe some backup quarterbacks. They need to see what they have down the depth chart a little bit, particularly at quarterback, but they could really use that.
They could. I'm not sure they will. I think they blew that opportunity. Now, who knows? K-State could come out against Army and just dominate them. It's a game they could, Fitz. So
Yep.
it's not like it's impossible that could happen. I don't know that it's necessarily likely just based on what we've seen, I should say. It doesn't seem likely. But, yeah, they could use some backups getting some minutes, some valuable snaps, especially, like you said, at backup quarterback, just to see what you have, just to get guys some game experience. Because,
Yep.
I mean, these guys, look, K-State's a developmental program, and that comes from guys sticking around, playing. Well, those guys that stick around, they've gotten some playing time early on in the season. Well, we haven't been able to do that this year. You got to be able to do that because,
Yep.
again, in the transfer portal era, you get no time no matter what. Well, then, hey, man, I just want to go somewhere and play. I didn't get an opportunity to play. And you can't blame people for that. So,
Well, he's always down to play on YouTube here. That's Brian Hanley. Does a terrific job breaking down the Big 12 and Kansas State. Big B, we will see you around the corner, maybe on the post-game podcast. We'll put that together. Who's all going to be on that at a later date? I got too much in my little tiny brain right now. Thank you, buddy.
no problem.
And after the break, we're going to dig into Army a little bit with our Cole Carmody, who has the opposing team scout. This is the K-State pregame show, and I am Fitz, and we'll be right back.
Looking for the rarest bottles at the best price? Experience the best alcohol delivery service. At Wooden Court, we have your favorite bottles in stock and ready to be delivered to your door.
Visit woodencork.com and use the code LIFEOFFITZ for your special discount.
And now it's time to take a look at the Army Black Knights with our recruiting analyst who also handles our opposing team scouts, Cole Carmody. Cole, thank you for joining us. Not a hard scout. I mean, in terms of offense, you get to see the same play run over and over. But they will throw that pass in there and it'll be the dagger. K-State's just got to do its job and they'll be fine. The problem is after the game, Chris Klieman made it very clear his defense was looking at all the wrong things. All the wrong things in this game will be a humiliating defeat.
It will. And they will paper cut you to death.
Yeah.
That is, I think, the best way I've ever heard a coach talk about the triple option. They are a true triple option. You know, I think they've adapted a little bit to the spread. You will see them take some shotgun snaps, which is not something that, you know, maybe fans who haven't watched the Army maybe don't realize. They will go out of the shotgun. It's their same offense. They are just now taking the snap from not under center. And so you will see a little bit of Army do that. The big news of the game, at least offensively for Army Fitz, is that it sounds like Dwayne Coleman's going to play. And there were some questions as if Coleman, the quarterback who put up some good numbers, which we'll get into against Tarleton State, would be available. He came out of the game in the fourth quarter, right at the end of the game, and the backup quarterback was kind of a train wreck, and that's being nice. Completes one pass, ran the ball okay, but the overthrows were not good. And ultimately, Tarleton State was able to win that game, partially due to the ineptitude of the backup quarterback. So getting Dwayne Coleman back for this game is going to be huge for Army, but I don't know how his injury is going to affect the play calling. That is definitely something to keep an eye on.
Very interesting. That's a bad loss for Army.
Yeah.
Tarleton is, trying to move up, I believe, to the FBS level. They'll be in the process of it. So the way they lost that had to be painful. You don't want to lose on your home field that way into overtime. They just never could shake them. Mm-hmm. What was it that Tarleton did that might have given Army some issues?
Usually when Army gets up by multiple scores, they win the game. And they were up by 14 points in this game. That is kind of the surprising aspect, is that they were in control of this game. The answer, Fitz, is that they turned the ball over 3 times. They threw 2 interceptions. Dwayne Coleman threw 2 interceptions, and they lost a fumble. They also put another one on the ground. They ultimately got back, but that's this offense. When it's this time of the year, that's what happens with this offense. It's so hard in the beginning part of the season to break in a brand new team and still execute when you have guys in different spots. And so I think that, honestly, those turnovers you won't see from Army later in the season because they're able to get that cleaned up. But, the turnovers were a big part. Also, I think that Army's ability to not pick up 3rd and long, like that's a real thing. And that's going to be one of the keys we're going to talk about for K-State. But Tarleton did a good job in the second half of getting Army to 2nd and long, stuffing the first down play. And then it's 2nd and long. You make another stop and it's 3rd and long. And then they either have to throw the ball or they can't go for it on 4th down, which is nobody goes for it more on 4th down than Army does, statistically, at least of last season.
Yeah, their intention is to use 4 downs to pick up a first down.
Yes.
I mean, it's a totally different brand of football. I kind of love it. Mm-hmm. A lot of high schools run this system because it cuts down on the learning of plays. I mean, the plays are all kind of, not all, but a majority of them are all the same. And it's just the quarterback deciding, hand it here, keep it, hand it there, or pitch it there. It's all up to him. Or sometimes throw it later in. And that's when they really get you, is they get you coming up and coming up and coming up. And next thing you know, someone slid behind you and it's not a hard pass to complete. You just lollipop it out there. So I've been looking forward to this game, but after North Dakota, Cole, I'm a little bit leery of Army, but what do they have on defense that could slow down Kansas State?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because you look at this Army defense and it was not good against Tarleton. It was really not good. The thing that stands out to me is their run defense, and it was putrid against Tarleton State. That is a word that I've been dying to use, Fitz, so I finally found a way to get it into the podcast. But the running backs for Tarleton State had 34 carries. They ran the ball for 189 yards. That's 5.6 yards per carry, including a long, I believe, of 38. So it was consistent. And the thing that really stood out to me in that, if I'm in that offensive game planning room, I'm looking at using Avery Johnson, maybe not even as much as 10 to 15 times a game, but use the read option, use the mesh, because Tarleton State did an excellent job. They kind of gave Army a dose of their own medicine. They had the quarterback really read and ride his running back, making the defensive end make a decision. And it looked like they were taking the quarterback every time. And so he would just hand the ball off to the running back and they get 5 yards to carry. And that mesh took a lot longer in some instances than others, but they read the defensive ends really well and forced them to make a decision. And ultimately, the running backs had a huge day for Tarleton.
Well, as Chris Klieman pointed out at Monday's press conference, teams are totally taking Avery away. They're just crashing in on him and making him hand the ball off. And without Dylan Edwards, it's just less explosive, Cole. They got to get him back. We don't expect him back for this game, but they have to generate a little more dynamic running game somehow.
Yeah.
Because if you're injured early in the season, you could aggravate that sucker later on. You could lose him in the middle of Big 12 play. They have to come up with something that works. This seems like a good game to execute that on.
Yeah. And as a team, Army, I think the team speed is honestly not as good, maybe even not as good as North Dakota. I was not very impressed with their speed on tape, especially the linebackers. The linebackers really struggled. Andon Thomas, number 51, is the guy for Army. Had 14 tackles, but nobody had more than 8 who wasn't Andon Thomas. So that's going to be a guy K-State's going to have to watch for. But lots of times the Army defense was sucked inside and they were blocked. And Tarleton did a really good job of getting to the second level and staying on those blocks. And so this is just the perfect game fits to run the football. Like, you're going to have to run the football. If you throw the ball more than you run the ball in this game, then that's bad news, because not only are you putting your defense in a tough spot, unless you're scoring very quickly, you're putting your defense in a tough spot because Army is going to possess the football for a long time. But I truly believe the weakness of this Army team is their run defense. They defended the pass fairly well. I don't think that's too much of a surprise given the opponent. But yeah, you look at that, you look at how they lost, and it was on the ground.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if K-State can generate more action through the running backs. Maybe we'll get down into the depth chart a little bit and see a little JB Price and anyone else that might get some time. Cole, they need a game that's a comfortable victory so they can play some dudes. They just do.
Yeah, they do. And, especially I think on the offensive side, you have to see what you have up front. And I've been hammering this home, but the offensive line rotations, I think, need to change. I understand wanting to get multiple guys into the game in that first rotation. Correct me if I'm wrong, Fitz. I don't believe that Kansas State had the same line out there for consecutive drives on Saturday against North Dakota. I'd have to go back and look, but it sure feels like every single drive, somebody's coming out of the game. And, I understand that to an extent. You want to keep guys fresh, but if you just had a 10-play drive and then your defense gets a 3 and out and you're about ready to completely flip the momentum of the game, it seems like a good time to run it back. You got the defense on their heels. And so
it works. Yep.
I'm going to be looking at that offensive line rotation. And, I look at Gus Hawkins Fitz as my guy. And, every year I feel like, oh, this is my guy. Well, Gus Hawkins feels like my guy this year. I want to see Gus Hawkins on the field, because not only does it mean that he is growing, that he is learning, that he is getting those game reps, but it means Andrew Langang can play his best position, and that's guard. I really feel like Andrew Langang and Gus Hawkins on that right side of the line can be very, very effective. And so I'll be interested to see how they do it. I'm to the point now. He needs to play 10, 15 more snaps than he did. And Chris Klieman talked about that. I do believe that we will see more Gus Hawkins on Saturday.
Look, one of the things I talked about in my daily delivery the other day about the defense is I think they're rotating too much.
Mm-hmm.
I think guys aren't getting established. And I was talking about the defense, but the line would be true too.
Mm-hmm.
You need to learn how to dance with your partners, and your partners keep changing. But that also might be a sign that they don't know who the top 5 are.
Yep.
They're trying to figure it out. I mean, they keep moving Langang from tackle to guard. And I mean, he plays everything but center. It's incredible what they're asking of him. And good news on George Fitzpatrick. We don't know when he'll be back, but he's on the road to recovery. So that's very positive. They'll need him. I'll be interested to see what they do, because there's been one guy that's been pretty good. It's been John Pastore at left tackle.
Yeah.
He's they found a really good one. And I don't know what's going to happen with Fitzpatrick, if they'll move him into guard or put him at right tackle. We will find out, but not this week. Cole, did you solve the special teams problem? I gave you some homework to solve all these problems so that your boss can sleep better at night.
The good news for you, boss, and the good news for K-State is that Army special teams is just as bad.
Oh, good. That'll be fun to watch. That'll be enjoyable.
They had an opportunity to win the game at the end of the game against Tarleton State, and what happened? They missed the kick. They had an opportunity to continue the game and potentially win the game in double overtime. What happened? They missed the kick. And so 2 missed field goals in the span of the fourth quarter and overtimes are not a recipe for success. K-State special teams have been horrible, but they have not missed any kicks yet, which is literally leaving points off of the board. So, look, I don't know what that means. Maybe the Army kicker comes back next week and is perfect. Who knows? But I do know this. K-State needs to be able to control what they can control better than what they've done. You can't control if the opposing kicker makes a kick. But you know what you really can't even control if your kicker makes a kick. But what you can control are the actual special teams. If a kicker misses a kick, if a punter punts it off the side of his foot, so be it. But as a coverage team, as a kickoff team, you can change the game. And if there wasn't an emphasis on practice this week, then I don't think there ever will be. But I truly do believe that people saw the tape, and it's not just us who are complaining. I guarantee you people inside of Veneer are hammering home that message that they have to be better. And you know what? I think it's pretty simple, Fitz. If I'm a coach, I'm looking at those guys and I'm saying, if I can't trust you to play special teams, how in the hell am I going to trust you out on offense? How in the hell am I going to trust you on defense? And so maybe we see some starters play special teams just to send a message that, hey, you guys better figure it out and figure it out fast.
You said Army's better than North Dakota. So K-State win this game? I mean, that might be a formula for disaster.
Yeah, I mean, it is. If K-State plays the way they did on Saturday, 100%. But I don't think that happens. I think K-State actually has a little bit better of a matchup on offense this week. I know, again, they didn't run the ball very effectively against North Dakota, but they didn't run it enough. I think this week, Army is going to dare you to run the football because they've seen you make the big play through the air. And if they load the box up, okay, then Jace Brown, go catch a deep ball from Avery Johnson. But I think that they are going to say, we know you can throw the ball, so we're going to make you prove that your offensive line can beat us. And if that's the case, every single person on that Kansas State offensive line should take it personally.
Yep.
And know if Tarleton State can run on these guys, then so can we. And so I actually think that the offense comes out firing on all cylinders. Now, the big question mark is the defense, Fitz. Like, I think they'll be ready to play. I've said all week, I think this is the perfect remedy for this Kansas State defense. You are going to be challenged. So are you going to step up or are you going to fold? And I tend to believe that there are leaders on that defense who will step up. But you know what? There's aspects of this game that, you know, K-State, this is the first time that they're going to be going up against this offense. Also, Army doesn't throw the ball, and we know K-State, some of their best defenders are edge rushers. Toby Osensami gets to the quarterback. Well, he's going to be completely neutralized in this game. So we're going to see some different personnel than maybe what we're used to seeing. And so the question marks are on defense. I think the exclamation points are on offense. All that being said, I think K-State's just too much offensively for Army. So I really think K-State's going to win this game, and it'll probably be a little bit close for comfort. But if they come out hot from the start, it could be a blowout.
Yes, Cole Carmody covers recruiting for us and opposing team scouts. Cole, appreciate it very much. And after this break, we will wind this show up with your Big 12 games that are going on. There's 4 or 5 really good ones. And then, of course, we'll have a little video from the press conferences. And today we're going to go with Chris Klieman instead of players, because I asked Coach Klieman some pointed questions at Monday's press conference, and he gave me very interesting answers. We'll be right back. We're sponsored by Coldest.com and the Wooden Cork.
From the house to the car to your tailgate, Coldest.com offers elite insulated tumblers. Imagine yourself standing in the football stadium's parking lot, and you want to keep your drink cold or hot. Coldest gets the job done. They're leak-proof, come in numerous designs and sizes, holding up to 46 ounces. And here's the best part. With your Coldest mug, no one needs to know what you're really drinking. Coldest.com. Use the code LIFEOFFITZ for a 10% discount.
Welcome back to the show. Now let's take a look at the schedule in the Big 12 for Week 2 of the college football season. 15 of the Big 12's 16 members are in action, with TCU off following Monday night's blowout win over North Carolina. Let's start our list of featured games with Iowa traveling to Iowa State for their annual rivalry game. The game kicks off at 11 on Fox, with the Cyclones being a slight favorite. Also at 11 is Baylor at SMU. Can the Bears bounce back from last week's home loss to Auburn? This is another steep test, with the game being part of the ACC's TV package on the CW. Oklahoma State is a massive underdog at Oregon, with the Ducks a whopping 29.5-point favorite. But never count out Coach Mike Gundy. The game kicks off at 2:30 on CBS. And finally, also at 2:30 comes the notable return of the border war, with Kansas traveling to Missouri to take on the SEC's Tigers. Mizzou is a touchdown favorite, and the game will be shown on ESPN2. One other game of note is Arizona State traveling to Mississippi State for a 6:30 p.m. game on ESPN2. That's it for your preview of Big 12 action. Now let's return to the Cats and Dogs studio and your host, Tim Fitzgerald.
Welcome back to the show. You're all set now with what to watch in the Big 12. It's a full schedule, a lot of games, but most of them are on streaming platforms because they're not great opponents. This is considered a great opponent, with Army playing Kansas State. It got an ESPN slot, and it's not surprising. There's going to be a big viewing audience for this game, and Kansas State's going to need to play much better. And I asked Chris Klieman at Monday's press conference about some of the things he saw from his team and what the corrections will be like. I got into a little bit of everything with him, and I thought his answers were really interesting. I didn't agree with all of them, but he did a good job articulating what they're attempting to do or not do in some cases. So that's coming up here in just a minute. And after that, we will wrap this show up with my one thing to watch, the biggest thing that Kansas State fans need to keep an eye on in this game that could decide victory or defeat. Here is Coach Chris Klieman.
Do you see maybe a lack of fire coming out for the start of a game 2 weeks in a row?
I don't know if I don't know, Fitz, if that's fair to say 2 weeks in a row. You know, because we stopped them on the first drive against Iowa State and then dropped a punt and then stopped them again. That's not a lack of fire. So I don't know. This week, I think, you know, we emphasized it. We talked about it. We probably put too much attention on Ireland, you know, and rather than turning the page of saying, we know you guys are tired. We know we're getting your bodies back. We probably emphasize that too much. That's on me. That now we're in a rhythm of it, that there are no excuses, and we've talked about that with the guys. It's not a talent issue. We have good talent. It's an execution and a little bit of a discipline issue, and those things are going to get corrected.
With Avery, is he going through his progressions enough for you?
You know, that's a better question for Wellesley on Thursday, honestly, because I talk defensive football with him. I don't talk a lot of offensive football with him. I think he's missed some things. I think he would tell you he's missed some things. But I think there's some plays that he's probably left out there that he would tell you, and then there's some plays that he makes some pretty dang good throws on, but something we're looking at.
We're following up on what you said after the game. The eye discipline on defense was bad.
Yep.
Is that a formula for a very long day against a team like Army?
It better not be, but the guys that are going to have eye discipline are the ones that are going to play. And that's a huge, huge concern for us. And it's something I'm talking to the defensive staff about. We're going to have 11 guys out there that we all trust. And in this system, if you don't have eye discipline, it's going to be a really long day for you. And so one thing is we'll simplify as best you can against these guys, but I'm going to be able to tell pretty quickly on Monday and Tuesday. We didn't practice last Monday. We get Monday back, so I'm going to tell pretty quickly on Monday and Tuesday if a kid has enough eye discipline to play in this game, because if he doesn't, there's a lot of guys that I know maybe aren't as talented, but they have the eye discipline.
Coach, Avery's a true dual threat quarterback,
Yep.
and he can be elite at it. And yet, on Saturday up until that last drive, he had like 9 yards of rushing.
Mm-hmm.
What's causing that? I mean, is that choice?
Yeah, I thought North Dakota did a really good job of what we would call mess charging their defensive ends right to his face, so his read was always to give it. And so you can take away some of that stuff of the quarterback run by not playing. There was one play on maybe it was a 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 2 or something. It was on our sideline where their defensive end crashed inside and played Avery, and we were able to outrun him and outrun that defensive end. Oakley was out in front. We ran for 20 yards or something, and that was the look we were hoping for. Then they said, we're never doing that again, and that was late in the game because the whole game they had just run people right at his face. Well, if you're running right at somebody's face and you're in that read game, you got to give the football or get whacked. Or we can say, nope, you're going to be Joe Jackson, get it back to you, kick out, run G with him, run power with him, run whatever, where there is no read. We're August 30th. I don't want to do that with that kid 15 times, 9 times. If we don't have to, maybe we should have, and maybe we should have had a plan for it because we were in such a dogfight. But you got to be careful about making sure that we have this kid for the whole season too. And I think Matt is really wise on that and smart on that. Say, I've probably got to get him more carries, but I'd like those carries to be on the perimeter and not strictly downhill where you're getting tangled up and maybe, he's bigger, he's more durable and stuff. But son of a gun, somebody cuts your legs out and you get an ankle, and all of a sudden now we don't have the mobility. Guys, they made a really good stunt on the second to last play of the game, and they got everybody covered, but they looped out a 3 technique against one of the fastest kids in college football, and that's why we won the game, because he's fresh enough and didn't take a bunch of hits that he was able to outrun that guy and run all the way down to the 5-yard line. And so that's what he's providing us right now when needed, rather than snap it, run QB draw or something.
Also, what's the progression of the backup quarterbacks? I think we all expected we might see someone, but it didn't work out.
Doesn't work out that way. So you're just in the dark like we all are. Good try, though, Fitz.
Does that add to the caution, though, with Avery, because you don't know what you have back there?
Well, we know what we have back there. Okay. You don't know what we have back there. And that's the intrigue that I like. Just keep you guessing on it, Fitz.
Coach, I think sounds like we might have JB in here for the first time. And just curious if you could give us maybe a thumbnail sketch on his story, what you like, and maybe his potential this year.
Okay, we got 3 different JBs that I call. So which one you having in?
The tall one that catches passes.
Okay. We got JB Price. We got JB Nelson. Okay, so Jerron, infectious personality, man. You're gonna love him. He lights up a room. He's always got a smile on his face. Loves to play. I think he's ecstatic that he came here with the guy that recruited him and Coach Wells that can hold him accountable and challenge the heck out of him, and he likes it because there's a lot in Jerron, and I think he's a terrific football player, and we're just kind of seeing the start of that as he gets more and more comfortable with our offense. But infectious personality that everybody in the team likes and practices his tail off, plays hard, learning about Avery, learning about our offense. I mean, this is his 3rd system now, and probably 4th system because he had a couple at Tech that – it may take a little bit, but he's already had an impact, and I think the impact's going to continue to grow.
Given just that it is Army and it's Fort Riley Day, do you guys have any plans to, I mean, I know you want to win the game, but to honor the other team in any way?
Yeah, that's a great question that Kenny Lanou probably should have thrown at me before I came down here. Because I'll be honest with you, since I got up yesterday morning and came in here, all I've done is sit and watch UND and try to fix some of those things and watch Army. I haven't really thought of it, but I'm sure that our media relations guys will lead me in on that pretty soon.
Thank you, Coach Klieman. Really good stuff on Monday at the press conference. We had some players in, but I thought it was important to hear from Coach in this edition of the pregame show. It was really interesting, some of his answers and how he got to them. But the bottom line here is Kansas State's got to be better. They must be better. And the one thing to watch is exactly what gave them trouble. Kansas State's offense scored 38 points last week against North Dakota. The defense gave up 35. A Joe Klanderman defense does not give up 35 points very often. And if they do, it's a really good offense. I'm sorry, North Dakota. You don't really fit the bill, even though you were extremely well prepared and did a good job attacking K-State. But the problem on the defensive side was what Chris Klieman called eye discipline, looking at the wrong things, not locking in on their keys of their assignment on each play, and being out of position and doing the wrong thing, and honestly, just getting beat. It's a lot to fix. And Army is a team all about discipline. They're going to do the same thing often, over and over and over, and then pop you with a pass. If Kansas State's defense isn't disciplined, well, they're going to lose. And it's going to be an embarrassing loss, because if Army's offense gets going, it's fun to watch, but it's not fun to be the defense watching that offense go up and down. I've got the Cats winning this game, but I honestly don't know what to do with these Wildcats. They have so much still to prove and not much time to do it. Next week, next Friday, is the wrap-up of the non-conference schedule at Arizona, Big 12 opponent, non-conference game, and then into the schedule they go after an off week. And they better be ready, because the Big 12 looks balanced as ever. And this is the final non-Big 12 team on their schedule. Kickoff is at 6 p.m. at the Bill. I hope you have a beautiful night to watch football in Kansas. It's been very cool all week. I haven't looked at the forecast for Saturday, but it could be anywhere between 70 and 170. It's Kansas. Take care, everyone. I will see you at the Bill.
Make sure you're subscribing to this YouTube channel, and please share your thoughts in the comments. Also, please support our sponsors, Coldest.com and WoodenCork.com, and remember the code LifeOfFits for your discount. This has been a Go Power Cat and Spirit Street production.